Hello and welcome to another episode of Nonstop F-Stop. Today we're going to be doing the review on the Canon 6D and versus the 5D Mark III, and then a little rant on the 6D. To start off, the 5D Mark III is an industry standard camera for film and photography. On the back, we see that the 5D Mark III has a plethora of buttons so you can have your features at your fingertips. The 6D is lacking a lot of quick access buttons and is very menu based. The 5D Mark III is a bit heavier than the Canon 6D. The 5D Mark III also has a slightly larger LCD screen than the 6D. The 5D Mark III can do 8 thousandths of a second, where the 6D can only do 4 thousandths of a second. The 5D Mark III can do 6 frames a second, and the 6D can do 4.5 frames per second. Both the 5D and the 6D are full frame cameras, but the 5D is a 23 megapixel sensor, and the 6D is a 22 megapixel sensor. On the 5D Mark III, we have 9 dial points all grouped together. The 6D has 10 dial modes spread about the whole dial. On the 5D Mark III, you have this function button right here by the shutter button. On the 6D, they have stripped it away. On the 5D Mark III, the Aperture preview button is right here, and on the 6D, they have moved it to down here and smaller. The 5D Mark III has an SD and a CF card slot. The 6D has only an SD card slot. In my experience, the 5D Mark III and the 6D take pretty much the same picture when you're dealing with just straight up picture mode. But when you get into HDR, they're not the same. The 5D Mark III has more megapixels and a lot more pro features in the camera. The 6D, however, has built-in Wi-Fi transmission and GPS. On the 5D Mark III, to navigate around your menus, you have this joystick. On the 6D, you have this 8-way controller. After a little bit of field testing with the 5D Mark III and the 6D, low light and in perfect lighting conditions, they're really not distinguishable between the two. Now when you get into deeper functionalities like HDR and some pro features, especially in video, they start separating right there. Where the 6D only has 4 ports: the remote, the mic in, the AV out, and the HDMI, which is mini. The 5D Mark III has a flash sync, a remote, a mic in, headphone jack out, AV, and HDMI. Now let's move on to the very short rant of the 6D. This is the 5D HDR menu. You get a value of 3, you get an effects, which is natural or art standard, art vivid, art embossed. You can tell it to shoot continuous in HDR, not switching from HDR back to a regular picture. And you have a lot more setting and control over your HDR image. This is the 6D's HDR menu. You can do 1 through 3 evaluative metering. You can tell it to do the continuous or just one-shot HDR. And you can tell it to align the photos automatically. But that is it. You do not have any picture control like art standard, art vivid, art embossed. You can only put it on natural, which they don't even show. They just only have natural. The other thing is that you can't use RAW. If you put your camera on RAW, the HDR option is ghosted. So in conclusion of the 5D Mark III versus the 6D, if you're looking for a great, lower, cheaper end full frame camera, the 6D does a really great job. It has great image quality. I've been fairly impressed with the color and the saturation. Everything looks really nice. But I can't help to think that it's the 5D Mark III without all the really great stuff. It's a very stripped down, very basic model of the 5D Mark III. So, for me, I'll be buying another 5D Mark III and just using this as my brush camera. So when I go to reach for a camera that has a lot of features to it, it's gonna have to be the 5D Mark III. And that's this episode of Nonstop F-Stop, but stay tuned because you never know what we're gonna do.